Good morning. Thank you for inviting me here. As said, I'm a regulator, and I will give an overview of decommissioning in Sweden and some regulatory challenges we are facing right now. This is the current situation. We have 12 nuclear reactors that were commissioned for electricity production between 1972 and 1985, 9 BVRs by Asea-Atom and 3 PVRs of Westinghouse design. 2 reactors have been shut down in 1999 and 2005, and the remaining 10 operating reactors in Forsmark, Oskarshamn and Ringhals, they provide about 45% of the electrical power in Sweden. Not shown on this picture, we have the Augusta reactor. That was the first commercial MPP in Sweden, in operation between 1964 and 1974. Provided heating to parts of Stockholm. A very small reactor, 10 megawatt, and it is interesting because it's located underground. We had the Studsvik research reactor that was shut down in 2005, and that is now under dismantling. Uranium mining in Sweden was terminated in 1974, and this facility also under final decommissioning. Spent fuel from the reactors are transported to a central interim storage facility. This is a wet storage called Club. And all the operational waste that is short-lived, low and intermediate level, it's disposed of in a repository called SFR. The power plant licensees are fully responsible until all waste is finally disposed of in a repository. And there are also some shared responsibilities for the nuclear power plant licensees to develop disposal solutions for spent fuel and all nuclear waste, including spent fuel, and also to carry out cost estimates as a basis for payments to the nuclear waste fund. The RD&D program and cost estimates, since the early 1980s, this has been a driving force for the industry's implementation of management solutions for spent fuel and decommissioning waste in Sweden. The RD&D program is reviewed by the regulator. It is approved by the government every 3 years, and this also includes public consultations. And this has been ongoing. I think we have now the 11th research and development program under review this year. The establishment of the Nuclear Waste Fund has been vital in securing the financing of all NPP liabilities. The remaining cost of the program, both decommissioning and disposal, is estimated to about 16 billion euros in today's prices. The 30 years of research, development and demonstration, the RD&D program, have actually resulted in the implementation of a national waste management system for both operational and decommissioning waste from the reactors. All waste types are classified, and all waste is destined to an existing or a planned disposal facility. The existing facilities include the mentioned Club interim storage for spent fuel, the SFR repository for short-lived operational waste. There are also interim storages for long-lived waste at the NPP sites, at Club and at Studsvik. And recently, an interim storage was commissioned on the Barsebäck site for segmented internal reactor parts. And there are some planned facilities as well. A deep geological repository for spent fuel. Site has been selected, a method has been developed, and the licensing process is ongoing. Licensing is also ongoing for an extension of the SFR facility to accommodate decommissioning waste. This is to be in operation by the year 2027. And there are also plans for a future repository for long-lived waste that will be in operation somewhere in 2045. There's been some interesting developments in the plans for decommissioning over the years in Sweden. In 1980, after a national referendum, it was decided that the nuclear program should be restricted to 12 reactors and phased out by the year of 2010. In 1999 and 2005, the two Barsebäck reactors were shut down permanently. This was due to political decisions. The second time in 2005, the government opened up for operating the remaining 10 reactors past 2010. And this was also the starting point for new safety requirement by the regulator on modernizing the NPPs, and by the utilities to also invest in power upgrades. In 2010, the Parliament decided to allow the construction of new nuclear reactors, provided they replace existing reactors in operation, so there still could be no more than 10 reactors. 2 years later, Vattenfall submitted a license application for 2 new reactors. In 2014, Vattenfall decided to put its plans on hold due to economical reasons. And less than a year later, the utilities decided to shut down the 4 oldest reactors in Sweden, Ringhals 1 and 2 and Oskarshamn 1 and 2, before 2020. And Oskarshamn 2 was at that time in revision after major investments in refurbishments and upgrades, but will not be started again, even though it was planned for 60 years of operation. The other 3 reactors were planned for 50 years of operation, which would have meant the mid-2020s. And the decision to shut down operations were made in a situation with a difficult market situation with very low electricity prices, a decision by the then new government to increase the special tax levied on nuclear power production, and a doubling of the nuclear waste fee for the second time in 3 years, and also SSM safety requirements as a result of the stress tests after Fukushima. We put demands on installing independent core cooling systems by the year of 2020. And this was investments in the vicinity of 100 million euros per reactor. So with this backdrop, nuclear energy again became a key political issue in Sweden. Last year, the government and opposition parties agreed on a new energy policy that contains some important statements also on the future of nuclear power in Sweden. A new goal of 100% renewables by 2040 was set. It was also stated that the shutdown on NPPs should not be a political decision, but for the market to decide, and of course in upholding the safety requirements. It was decided to phase out the tax on nuclear power. It was decided that there will be no government subsidies to nuclear power whatsoever. There were also some changes in the calculation of the nuclear waste fee and what investment risks should be taken by the nuclear waste fund. And this was also to ensure that the nuclear industry could really cover its costs for decommissioning and disposal. So this sets a new baseline for the operation of nuclear facilities in Sweden. 6 commercial reactors and Augusta will be under decommissioning before 2020, very shortly. And 6 reactors will be in long-term operation with planned operation for about 60 years. So this is what it looks like with the change in time plans for decommissioning. The planning for Oskarshamn 1 and 2 and Ringhals 1 and 2 is on a very tight schedule, 1.5 years for defueling, almost no service operation before dismantling. And preparations have already started with the licensing process. And this year, Oskarshamn 1 and 2 will be permanently shut down. The general strategy is immediate dismantling, but up to now both the Barsebäck reactors and Augusta have for a long time been waiting for a repository for decommissioning waste to be established. With these new plans, the final dismantling of all 7 reactors will be terminated before the extension of the SFR is established. So this means we need additional storage solutions on the sites, and at the Barsebäck site, an interim storage for internal reactor parts have already been established and licensed, and actually dismantling and segmentation of internal parts have started, so the decommissioning work, the dismantling work has already started at the Barsebäck site. Ongoing dismantling gives valuable experience. We have the Studsvik and Ranstad ongoing dismantling projects in Sweden. We also very closely follow international developments. The problem is, as has been stated previously, that very few reactors have been completely decommissioned worldwide. We need good practices, we need comparable case studies, and this is especially evident when it comes to decommissioning costs. All this means that we have some regulatory challenges. The change in plan from new build to shutdown of more than 4 reactors within a very short time span, that this was actually within 1 year, put some stress on the regulator. There's short transition times from shutdown to the start of dismantling. We need resources for our regulatory oversight. We are in the process to adapt our organization and to establish the necessary resources and competencies for this. We have introduced what we call a strengthened supervision of Oskarshamn and Ringhals to make sure they maintain operational safety culture until close down. And we also have to make sure that the power plants organize the decommissioning effectively from a safety perspective. We want to see management, resources and competencies that are dedicated to decommissioning. This is not the same organization and skills that is used to operate a nuclear power plant. We have confidence in our financing system, but we have to closely follow risks and cost outcomes during both preparations and especially dismantling. There will be surprises. A number of documents have to be approved prior to decommissioning. Decommissioning plans, safety assessment reports, waste plans, waste descriptions, radiological characterizations, control plan for free release, and so on. The decommissioning plan is central in the early stages and during the operation of the power plants, and when licensing decommissioning. But when we come to dismantling, we work with the safety assessment report as the central document, and this has to be revised and approved in all stages and with all changes in the process. As a regulator, we need a very good insight into the decommissioning projects, especially during dismantling. As said, there will be surprises, there will be a need for changes in plans, there has to be flexibility, but never to compromise safety and radiation protection. And decommissioning is a planned exposure situation, and optimization is a requirement. So therefore we need a close dialogue between regulator and implementer in all steps of the process of decommissioning. We have recently made the decision not to revise our regulations for decommissioning. There simply isn't the time with this stressed schedule, but we are confident our present regulations follow IAEA standards and also the VENRA reference levels. We intend to work with license conditions when clarifications are needed, and we work with guidance towards the regulators, towards the operators. One exemption, we are finalizing a new regulation on free release of land to complement our regulation on free release of buildings and materials. And this is part also of the transposition of the Basic Safety Standards Directive. A short word on transparency and public participation. There are a number of mechanisms for this, formal and informal. The 30 years of public consultations on the RD&D program and cost calculations have been very important for overall public acceptance in the process and on the system level. Local safety boards, on the other hand, are important for public insight in the safe operation and emergency preparedness of MPPs in their own communities. The safety boards are set up by government decree locally. We have the Euratom Article 37. That's a notification procedure. It also applies on decommissioning. We have done that with Studsvik and Barsebäck, and we will do that with Oskarshamn shortly. There is an agreement between the Nordic countries on sharing of information. This includes also decommissioning. And really maybe the most important is the licensing of decommissioning according to the Swedish Environmental Code. This includes specific requirements on environmental impact assessments and a formal public consultation made by the applicant. And there is also a public hearing by the licensing authority, the Environmental Court. And this is also how the Århus Convention is in effect integrated within the Swedish legislation. We have the Espoo Convention with information to neighboring countries and the general public. And also a cornerstone in the Swedish Constitution is the right of access to public information. And not only access, but as a government authority, we have to make information from our supervisory activities and decision-making available in an easily way through news releases, through our website, and so on. And we also have outreach activities that include seminars, conferences, dialogue meetings with NGOs, local authorities, and other stakeholders, not only the operators. So decommissioning is moving forward in Sweden. 7 reactors to be decommissioned in 2020. It starts now. There will be a lot of experiences gained in this, and we really need experiences from other decommissioning projects. Thank you.